All right, let's get straight into it. So we have Winsor and Newton charcoal pencils I use, and then we also have I believe it's the same brand, yeah, the Winsor and Newton graphite pencils. I've been using these for a while and they work pretty good. Unfortunately, when I bought them, some of them were broken. The lead were broken, but it's still workable. I managed to use it. So I'm just making use of it for now. And of course, using blending stump and eraser. Blending stump helps with the outlines, reducing the vivid lines. And then, of course, I have my cotton bud and kneaded eraser, which also helps with the cotton bud. I use it for shading, reducing the tonal values, and then assorted brushes. So with these brushes, I use the flathead brush, and then the one in the middle, it's a makeup brush. It's fairly round and soft. It's really soft and it feels good when using that particular brush. It's my favorite brush, I'd say. And then the regular brush, it's you can find any of these tools and materials from your local art shop. And then of course I also use a mechanical pencil which helps with the outline and fine details on the lines in my works. And as you can see, I'm about to start working on with the charcoal as well. So I do use charcoal, specifically the compressed charcoal powder, which works just fine. And honestly, you don't need a whole lot. All you need is just a small um, piece of powder to work with. And of course, it depends on your work size and all. So if you're new to the channel, kindly, if you don't mind, subscribing to the channel, liking, and that helps me grow my channel and also motivates me to upload more videos. And I will upload more videos over time. I'm still fairly new to the channel, to creating these videos, but I'll give you my best. So I don't like to say too much. I'd rather get straight into my works and then teach and help you with your projects or work of art. Now, I'm using, I believe it's the HB pencil. Yeah, HB2 or HB pencil I'm using here. It's not the lightest within the tonal values of my graphite pencils, but it's enough to bring out the highlights of where I want to work on. It gives me like a guide. I'm speaking about the tonal values. Using this particular pencil brings out enough lines, values within the lines, which serves as a guide going forward with my work. So I'm currently working on the jug right now, and I'm working towards the top. So yeah, just I'll say keep practicing. Now, if you notice, I also use the gloves. With the gloves, it helps with transferring my fingerprints or any marks on my hands or finger onto my works. You may not see it, if you were not wearing the gloves, you may not see the marks you're leaving on the print until you start shading or applying charcoal on your work. Then it will show. Trust and believe me, it will show. If your hands are not clean or if your hands or fingers are oily, without the gloves, it will show on your work, especially if you add or apply charcoal or graphite to that particular area that has the oil or dirt. So using using the gloves helps, and this glove doesn't have to be the specific gloves that I have here. This one helps. You can use just about any glove as long as it doesn't leave any marks or residue on your work and you're comfortable with that, working with that particular glove. So I'll go ahead and then forward it just to save time and reduce the time, watching this video. I can tell you I spent over 3 hours creating this work, but again, just to save us time from watching the 3 hours long video, I reduced it to about an hour, roughly about an hour. Again, I'm only speeding up the process to reduce the time spent watching the video. I did, to save me time from having to upload the whole time spent. I took care of the cup and then the holder. It looks like I'm not sure if it's a sugar. Oh, the container with the lid, as well as the cup. I took care of that. Working on those two alone took me about maybe 8 hours working on those two, and I'm gonna spend about maybe 4 hours on this jug. But again, I reduced it to about an hour, so just bear with me. And I appreciate you watching and staying on the channel with me. And if you haven't subscribed, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe and like my video. It goes a long way in helping me sustain the channel and bring up more videos. So as you can see, I usually work with the brush a lot. I try not to use too much of my pencils when it comes to shading, especially when I'm working on a larger area. I prefer to use my brush. Of course, with the brush you have to be very careful so as not to go past certain lines or areas in your work. So you have to be patient. You have to be very patient with your strokes. If not, you may end up erasing so much so you may end up ruining your work. So yeah, I usually use my pencils on a light scale, working in usually tight angles and areas. Yeah, so now with the brush, I'm not applying too much pressure. I'm only applying light pressure. It's firm enough to cast the charcoal powder on my paper, but it's not so firm whereby if you press on it too firm, you end up scratching the paper because of the metal part of the brush. You end up scratching your paper using the metal part of the brush. So yeah, apply pressure gently, just enough to apply your charcoal on your piece of work. So yeah, enjoy. Now, if you have any questions, you can comment below, and I'll be more than happy to respond to your questions. I'm still learning. I've been doing this for many years, on and off, for a few years now. Um, I'm taking commissions. However, it's not open right now. So this will be part of my 6 pieces of work I'm planning on exhibiting towards the end of the year. I already took care of the first 2, so this will be my 3rd, and then I'll be working on on the remaining pieces. It's altogether I'm working on 6 works of art to exhibit. This is just to put myself out there. It will be work references on still life, portraiture, um, landscape, and yeah, similar themes. It's just to put myself out there and let the world know, these are the areas that I can work on. I'm actually planning on expanding my craft to other areas of art, but for now I'm only working with graphite, charcoal, as well as color pencils. Yeah, so as you can see right now on this video, I'm applying the charcoal using the flathead brush, which helps with the angles. I love this brush, especially when I have to work on the angles within my works. With the round head, sometimes you'll find yourself going into areas you wish not to shade over. But with the flat head, you're able to turn the head of the brush to a certain angle that you wish to work with. So it's good to have this brush, and again, you can find this brush in just about any art store. You may even find some of these brushes from your local beauty shop. They sell brushes as well, and some of these brushes from the beauty shops actually work great. It's really nice and soft. It feels good touch, and it feels good on your paper as well. So yeah, again, I decided to forward this video to help speed up the process. As you can see, I'm shading with my graphite pencils and applying pressure, spreading it all over with the brush. And so it's a back and forth thing. You keep applying, brush over, apply, brush over until you get the tonal values that you wish to have. I mean, if you have a reference, you just have to keep checking your reference tonal value and then seeing to it that you're getting the same tonal value on your piece of paper whilst comparing it to your reference as well. So again, apply light pressure. You don't want to go too hard working with the pencils. Likewise, you don't want to apply too much pressure spreading the charcoal and the graphite powder all over it. You just apply minimal pressure. It will spread and then give you an even tone. So right here, I believe I'm using a cotton bud to reduce the tonal value of that particular area. So towards the right side, it looks like there's more sunlight towards that area, so you want to go light. So that's what I decided to do. So you can actually use tissue, toilet paper, or regular paper tissue, whichever works for you. For me, I feel like the cotton bud works just fine for me. So And then I'm going to right here. So it looks like when I look at the reference photo, there's a dent on the jug. It's a metal jug. It looks like a metallic brass jug, so antique metallic brush. So you'll find these older jugs sometimes fall, so you have some dents on the sides and whatnot. So that's what I'm trying to create right now, and it actually shows on my reference. So I'm trying to get as much detail off my reference on my paper. So it's not showing exactly how I want it to look, but it will shape up. It will come into form and shape over time. Just watch. And then now I'm using the charcoal pencil. Charcoal pencil is to bring out more darker hues, the darker highlight and lines in my works. And then I'm using Tomboy eraser to bring out the lighter highlights of my work. I believe art, if you want to get a 3D or a realistic looking portrait or whatever you're working on, the tonal value is everything. If you can get your tonal values right, you can have a really realistic looking portrait or work of art. If you're able to get your tonal values right, it makes the difference between having a flat surface and having a 3D effect on paper. So I would say work on your tonal values, and that comes with practice and exercise, and also working with different shades, graphite, and then the different um, charcoals as well. You know, so it's looking good so far. I think I like it. I'll still have to come back on the dents towards the bottom right. And I just noticed right now, because I was working from home and I was sitting right next to my window, I had my blinds halfway open. So fortunately, the sun reflects that on my work, but I think it will go away over time. As we work, you'll notice it will go. I think I close the blinds eventually. My apologies. So right now I'm trying to work on the upper part. The upper part is lighter than the bottom. So I like to use the line drawings to help with guide. It serves as a guide, you know, to get the proportions right. Now I don't really need it right now, so I'll go ahead and clean them off or erase them off if just erase them off because I don't really need it. I could choose to leave these lines on and then just shade over them. That works just fine as well, but again, depends on the tonal values that you want. Some tonal values, when you're working with some tonal values, you will have to clean out any lines, guidelines you use. But if that particular area within the guidelines is dark, you don't really have to clean them up, because when you shade or add your charcoal and graphite powder, it will cover it. It will cover it. So that's what I'm doing right now. Now, as you can see, I'm erasing certain parts of the work, and I actually love using this eraser because it takes out as much as you can imagine off of your work. And, you know, it can take us as much graphite and lead or charcoal. It removes a lot off of your paper if you were to use the yellow eraser versus the white ones. The white erasers works just fine. However, it still leaves, you know, marks. Like you can still see the lines in there when you use the white one compared to the yellow ones. The yellow ones works best for me. The yellow one cleans out more of my graphite and charcoal powder. I'm able to remove as much from my paper using the yellow eraser. So now I'll go ahead and so towards the side where I'm working on right now, there's a shadow. There's a cast of shadow. There's a small shadow. I believe it's coming from the cup and lid. The storage cup and the lid. The shadow falls on the jug, so I'm about to create that little shadow on the side. And I'm using, of course, graphite and then the charcoal pencils. Again, I'm not applying too much pressure. As you can see, the bottom part of this jug is darker, especially towards the left side of the jug. It's darker compared to where I'm working on right now. Looking at the reference, this particular side is dark, but it's not as dark as the bottom left of the jug. So I'm using my graphite pencil. Now the type of pencil I'm using, it's mid-range pencil. I believe it's within the B. Yeah, I would have to look it up. It's not too dark and it's not too light, something right in between. So, and of course, I'll speed it up as we go along just to reduce time spent on this. Now, one might ask or be wondering why I'm holding the pencil at that length. Holding the pencil at that length and from that angle means I'm not pressing too hard on the paper. It helps me shade on the lighter note. You know, I'm not applying too much pressure. So holding that pencil or brush, it helps. That way I'm not applying too much pressure on my paper. I don't want to apply too much pressure, number one, because it reduces, you know, having to. It makes it difficult if you make a mistake and you have to go back and clean it out. Now, let's say you make a mistake and you need to clean that part out. It becomes difficult because you apply too much pressure. If you apply light pressure, you can easily remove certain X's or unwanted shades off of your work. So remember, always apply light pressure and then apply more and more pigment or charcoal or graphite powder as you go along until you achieve the tonal value that you want. Okay. Now, I'm using the charcoal pencil. As you can see, it brings out the cup. It helps bring out the cup off of the jug. You know, without that, it looks almost flat. It's like it's almost attached to the jug. But when you apply that deep black charcoal line, it kind of gives a space between. It's a 3D effect, or 2D or 3D effect of the cup not being attached to the jug on paper. So it gives that effect of you can literally grab a hold of that cup and take it away from the jug. So I'm using the brush again, the round brush, and this is actually a makeup brush which I'm using, and again it's one of my favorite brushes I have from the three. I actually have 4 brushes. I have a larger tip brush that I use. I don't use it often. It's usually for the larger works. If I'm ever to work on a larger piece of work, I'll probably use that. But for this particular work, this particular brush works for me just fine. So And I'm just applying light pressure again on the works. And I think I probably have to speed it up a bit. Now, I'm using mechanical pencil. The mechanical pencil works just about the same as the charcoal. It helps bring out the highlight, you know. I prefer the mechanical pencil, especially in tight areas or skinny lines. When you're using a regular pencil, sometimes it becomes blunt. So instead of having a really thin or skinny line on your work, you end up having a larger, a wide line that you probably don't want. You want a thin line in certain areas of your work. So when it comes to that, then I use the mechanical pencil because again, it's really thin. The lead is really thin, unlike the graphite pencil where it's a bit thicker. The graphite and the charcoal lead, the lead inside is thicker than the mechanical pencil. So I would advise if you're working on thin areas, always use mechanical pencil. Again, you can find that in any art shop. You have to be patient. You cannot rush it. You can. It's best to always take your time and never rush it. Be patient with your work. I know sometimes you go on social media, you see videos of time lapse videos of artists posting their works, and you're probably thinking it took them maybe a few hours or a couple of minutes. I can tell you most of the works you see, especially with the time lapse, it took them hours, sometimes days and weeks. And for some works of art, depending on the size and the complexity of the work, it could take you months to finish it. So be patient with yourself, especially if you're new. You're trying to get a grip of how things work, especially working with charcoal, graphite, and all these other tools. So just take your time, be patient with yourself, and it will come to you over time. Trust me. So I'm using my favorite brush. It doesn't look so good right now, but it will all come to play over time. It will all come together towards the end of this particular part, this particular shading area. Once I'm done, it will come together. So just be patient, like I said, be patient with yourself. Sometimes when you're working with when you're within the process, when you're in the process, you wouldn't see the beauty and the final outcome of it. But stay focused, just stay on it. Know what you're doing, stick to what you're doing, and it will come together. As you can see, I used the cotton bud. Again, I'm using the graphite pencil. I think I'm using the mid-tone value pencil. So, which is still lighter than the darker part of this jug. When you look towards the bottom part of the jug, the tonal value from the top is still lighter compared to the bottom. So. And what I'm using here is a cross hatching, and there are many ways to shade your works. You can use a straight line. There are different ways you can go in a circular motion. or you can do the cross hatching, which I use sometimes as well. So I use a combination, different types of shading method. Sometimes I go by the cross hatching. Sometimes I go by the circular motion. Sometimes a straight line, depending on how I feel and the area I'm trying to draw. So as you can see, again, I'm using the cross hatching right here, and then I use a circular motion when I'm using my brushes. Sometimes I use a straight line. It's all up to you. There's no one particular way to get things done when it comes to shading. So long as you get your tonal values and you get the likeness of the reference, it should be alright. So okay, I'm using my cotton to spread out the graphite, the powder all over my works. Yes, still I'm also keeping in mind that the top part of the jug is not flat. So towards the left side of the jug, that side should be darker, and then towards the upper right, it should be a bit lighter. So that's my goal right here, and again, it will all come to play towards the end of this video. And then that right there. So I'm back to completing the dent I started earlier. So with the dent, it's now looking more like a dent towards the side, as you can see. The kneaded eraser helps a lot. Even though I'm wearing a glove, you can see there were marks of oil and dirt on that particular side I erased with my kneaded eraser, and that's what happens if you're not wearing any gloves. Sometimes just playing with your sheet of paper or opening it, you leave marks on it without even noticing. So it's always advisable to wear gloves even before you start your work. So I'm back to the top part. I'm adding more tonal values towards the left side of the jug. Again, because that particular side is darker. It has more shadow, cast of shadow on that side versus the right side of the jug. So I'm adding more tones, more shades, more powder towards the left side. And then I'll get back to it, but let's move on to the top. So towards the top, it's fairly easy. I'm using a charcoal pencil, and this charcoal pencil I'm using, I believe, is a medium hard charcoal pencil, and the brand is from Winsor and Newton. However, you can use just about any other charcoal pencil you can find. Most of them works just about the same, just a little different here and there. So I'm using my charcoal pencil, and then within the areas of my highlight, I'm using my graphite. That particular area is real light, so again, I'm not pressing too hard on it. And the reason why I'm holding the pencil as is because it helps not to apply too much pressure to my work. So I'll just shade with my pencil and then use the brush to just go over it once I'm done. Okay, so at this point, I start working on the handle. I'm using a combination of the charcoal pencil and the graphite pencil. For the most part, I'll be using the graphite pencil because I don't want it to be too dark. The lines on this particular reference isn't too dark, so I'll be using the graphite pencil for the most part. Yep, so as you can see, I'm erasing all the lines the guided lines I use in creating this work. I don't really need it right now, so I'll go ahead and clean them off. As you can see, I'm also using my Tumble eraser to get to the detailed parts that I need to erase, into the corners and areas that my regular eraser wouldn't be able to get to without destroying my work. So as you can see, just by cleaning and erasing certain parts of my work, it makes your work pop. So my advice, if you don't need certain lines or guides in your work, you can go ahead and then just clean them off or erase them off, which makes your work stand out and makes it look good. It's looking good right now, I'll tell you that. So I'm using a brush in that particular area. It's the handle is dark. Now you don't always have to use your graphite pencil to shade each and every work. Sometimes you have enough on your brush because you've been brushing over your work for maybe a minute, an hour, so you've generated enough powder from your brush, so you can actually use brush to bring out certain highlights and tonal values without even going back to your pencil. Now this work has been fairly easy. The most challenge I had was working with the cup right below the jug. And the areas I struggled with, I would say, would be the highlights of the steel. You know, where it shows the steel. It has this. I'll show it towards the end of this work. So this particular handle of the jug is twisted a bit. It's not a straight line or a straight handle. It's because of the workmanship, it has an effect of a twist. So it's right there. It has a twist to it. So, or a bend. So you have to make sure you draw a line to depict that as well. Now, I'm going to blend the line. It looks a bit thick. Yeah, it looks too thick for my liking when I'm comparing this to my reference photo. So I'll go ahead and blend it either with my cotton bud or the paper stump. So you notice in this particular point in time, my fingers or my hands, where I place my hands on the pencil, it's more towards the middle. It's because I'm applying more pressure now. When I'm shading, my hands are usually towards the end of the pencil, towards the outer end of the pencil. But because I'm trying to apply more shade and attain more tonal values, my fingers or my hand is towards the middle part of my pencil. So by doing that, you get more tones and highlights, which shows again the handle of this particular work. It's gonna make the handle pop. Before it was flat, it had no dimensions to it, but I'm shading over it little by little. It's gonna make it pop and give it almost a 3D effect. It's like a 2D 3D effect. And then when I'm done, I'm going to erase the top part. I see shades of pencils towards the top. I don't want that there, so I'll go ahead and erase it towards the end. And I'll just go ahead and fast forward real quick just to reduce the time again. And if you've been watching through till now, I really appreciate your time and staying to watch through till this. And I really appreciate your time. I'm almost done here. I only have about a few more minutes to go. And I'll go ahead and forward this video just to help with the time. Okay, so we're almost done here. To soften the edges, especially on the lines, I'm using a paper stump. It's still gonna show a highline, a tonal value between the handle and the edges, but using the paper stump helps soften those edges a lot. So that's what I'm doing right now, and then I'm using the Tumble Mono Eraser as well, which also helps bring out the highlights, especially in the lighter tones of my work. And I'm almost done here, just applying final touches here and there. So yeah, pretty much that's it. That's it for now. I appreciate each and everyone who tuned in to watch the full video. I really appreciate it if you could kindly subscribe, which helps a long way in maintaining my channel and growing my channel as well. I'm hoping you're able to learn something out of this. Again, if you have any comments or questions, kindly leave it down below.